living, they don't have any form of social security.
It was hand to mouth,
and so definitely they're affected. But like what the government has done, like in the recent Nabanja, the cash 100,000 shillings, there were those who were saying that they were earning, like border people, like tax thoughts and so on, conductors.
Yeah.
They were earning daily, and because of the lockdown, then they could not feed their family, they could not feed themselves, so they had to get some money, some relief.
Yeah.
But we also remember that there are older persons who all along, even not in COVID, who are not catered for. Even COVID or no COVID, they have been suffering.
True.
PWDs, persons with disabilities, have been suffering. So that means that they are more affected even when COVID strikes.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. So we tried to talk to the authorities, the COVID task force and so on, when they were trying to do. Of course, it was a bit late, because when you are doing advocacy, you have to be timely. The groups had been defined. They said, no, this is number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Yes. And we could not add on. They said, no. And definitely we know that the government has got intervention measures and has got to have a criteria. But definitely we tried with PWDs to lobby, but they said, no. If they happen to be among those, and they will benefit, yes, but we have not got data of how many older persons, of how many PWDs access this money in the municipalities and cities in Uganda.
Would that fall in your docket, or that falls again to the government to come up with this data, and the local councils and whatnot?
Of course,
who comes up with the data?
Of course, the data comes from the Prime Minister's office, because they were the ones in charge. And but for us, it is very important to analyze and find out that in the next intervention, then we can say, during this, when money was given out, how many older persons benefited, how many persons with disabilities benefited, so that we know that they were either included or excluded, and their reasons. Of course, we know that because of limited resources, not everybody can be brought on board at the same time. But there should be interventions specifically to relieve these vulnerable groups, definitely.
All right.
Because if a person with disability, for example, down here in the park, near the park, had a stall, and you have put a lockdown, I mean, he should be the first one to be considered the person with disability.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Now allow me to shift the gears a bit and talk about COVID. Yes. Now, the first wave, like you said, there was a scare amongst older people. They're like, hey, it's affecting us the most. What? And now with the second wave, we saw also the young ones getting affected and dying, actually even more than the older ones. And we tended, or maybe we kind of forgot about the older people now. Right. We now started shifting to young people, start steaming, and babies and whatnot. And we kind of forgot about older people, and particularly persons with disabilities. I've actually haven't had anyone talking about what are the persons with disabilities going through, what are the effects, but where you are, what you're seeing, what are some of the effects that COVID has brought upon. We'll start with the older people, then we'll go to the PWDs.
Yeah. As you have already said, in wave 1, and of course, say from China to European countries, where COVID started from, and before it struck us, especially hard in the second wave, we find that a good number of people who died were older persons. There is evidence in China, there is evidence in Spain and Portugal and Britain. And also remember that some of these older persons were in the institutional homes, because for them they have elderly homes, where people, when your father grows old a bit, and because you are busy from morning to evening, there's nobody staying at home,
you take him to a home somewhere.
Or her. So that means that those who are in those homes were struck hard. Why? Because as we shall see, socialization and also health-wise, they are very susceptible, and because they are physically weak already, their lungs, their kidneys, their organs, and so on, they cannot. Their immunity is low. So when it strikes hard, because then also some of them have diabetes, some of them have cancer, some of them
low
have
immunity.
So definitely it affected them high. Actually, in China, it was worse. That I think the fatality rate was for those of 80 years was about 15%. 15% in China, those who died. So it was so tough on them. But I think by the time it came to us, we were a bit lucky
Yeah.
that information had gone around, and we took a bit of extra care in older persons. Though, of course, the information was not flowing well, but of course, lockdown affected everybody, and older persons, they want to walk around, they want to talk to people, they want to embrace their grandchildren. They don't want to be left alone. For you, you can withstand this room, you can be in this room for the whole day, but
Yes.
put a person in his own room for about like 20 or 30 minutes. It's like a real prison for years.
For an older person.
For an older person. So they want to sit there outside, greet people, then the grandchildren are passing, they're hugging. So it becomes a very big change when you say, don't hug the don't
Yes.
go to your grandfather.
Yes.
And don't touch him. Don't. And for us, in tradition, we are used to greeting, of
Yes.
embracing, or sometimes shaking
Yes.
hand.
Yes.
When somebody does not touch you, feel you are. So that also affected them a lot in terms of isolation.
Okay.
They seemed that as if, you remember this ebigenge, I don't know in English, it's called this skin disease whereby people are isolated and put on an island. No, you feel very bad about it. You can even die faster. So these older persons felt they were very isolated, but also those who would go to meet at other older persons talk, they say, don't go out. We say, remain in your home.
Yeah.
So also that further is it. And they would get information because some of them don't have radios. So some older persons who would walk to trading centers, who would want to convene in the evening near
Yeah.
because in the villages up now, some of them, they convene a radio and listen to news together.
Yes.
They were saying, no, don't convene, don't do that. And definitely that was a very big effect on them because they could not socialize, they could not access information, and that affected them a lot. And really, as we saw, some of them, because of the lockdown, some of them could not access health centers, like everybody, because public transport was cut off.
Sure.
And that meant that accessing health center was very difficult. And data shows that the health-seeking behavior, older persons frequent more health centers than the other
young
population,
ones,
because of the various elements we've talked about. So that means that they cannot move because of the lockdown. So some who were on medication were affected, like everybody else, of course, but for them, because they are very much at risk. Those who had small businesses, because some older persons have kiosks, have they could not operate because so that was the income that was coming in could not be attained. And then also the fact that some of them older persons, according to Ministry of Gender, about more than 60% of orphans and vulnerable children are under the care of older persons. What does that mean? That means that when older persons cannot have no income, have nothing to provide, the orphans also suffer. So the orphans and vulnerable children also who are under the care of older persons in their homesteads, in their households, were also affected in terms of, especially in terms of food and so on. So the orphans were affected, and also they could not access other essential services like everybody, but also like the government program of SAGE, the senior citizen grant, the money given to them. They could not give out the money because you could not bring people together. So they spent about like 5-6 months without being paid. Though the money came later on, but this was an income that had been used, which would help them meet their daily needs and whatnot. So that means that if you don't pay them, like if you can't be paid for 6 months, how do you survive? So that also, the senior citizen grant had to be put on hold for about that period, and that means that they were also heavily affected in terms of accessing services. They could not meet their daily needs and so on. So that's in terms of health, in terms of economic, in terms of social impact. It was really hard hitting for them.
In your opinion, do you think it was harder on the older persons than the rest of the population? Do you think COVID particularly?
I think we have like we were at a community function, and actually the disabled person was old because there are some
old disabled people.
And those ones, it's like a double tragedy.
Yes.
Because already I am vulnerable as a disabled person. Now I am getting to old age, and of course, when you grow, you get some disability.
True.
Either you can't walk properly, either you are affected by the eyes become blind and you have to use glasses, or you can't read, you can't walk on your own. You have to be supported. So definitely, I think the persons with disability are more affected in that sense. It's like Yes, older persons were affected, true, but I think the PWDs were worse affected.
Were
Hit harder than the older persons.
Are the effects of are they almost the same as the effects COVID had on the PWDs, or the persons with disabilities had COVID hit them? The effects were different. Were they the same as social, like what you were saying, social economy?
I think they were, except the social bit, because economically, of course, they were, because some of them had some business, and we know that because of awareness, when we were growing, everybody, almost people had negative attitude, but even step now, people have negative attitudes towards persons with disabilities. They think that people cannot do anything, they are there to beg, but we have seen persons with disabilities who are really enterprising, who can feed their family better than an able-handed person. So it's not that they are all that useless. The same with an older person. People think that when you get old, you become useless. It's not true. You are still productive. You can still, because we have seen that most people who go to work, like even in the communities, they leave older persons with children at home. They are the ones. They are the gatekeepers. Actually, they are the ones who security persons at home. So that is still a purpose that is of useful living. So the PWDs, I think the fact that some of them had business and they are very enterprising. There have been so much awareness by the way in PWDs because of organizations and because of the Ministry of Gender. And there has been so much awareness, and some people who were even the PWDs who were not very confident have come up. They know we can do it. We have a national anthem for the older persons. It was written by a blind person.
Really?
Yes. Okay. A blind person is the one who composed it. So that means that they are able, and they have shown that they can do business, they can look after their families very well, they can dig. You have seen older person, the person with ability going with so to the garden and digging. Yeah,
even the other time during the Olympics, after the normal Olympics, we had the Paralympics where people with disabilities were participating.
So in this age whereby we have to get everybody on board and leave no one behind, we have to see everybody that we have to change our attitude towards some categories like the persons with disabilities. So why I'm saying that socially they were hit harder because already we have a negative attitude. So even if awareness has been done, even if so much information has been provided, still there are some of us in our communities, in our country, who still have a negative attitude towards PWDs.
True.
And shockingly, God can reward you with a child who is disabled because you are capable. Every person is capable of being disabled at any age. You can go down the steps and you can slide, and lose your memory, you can break your leg, you can be involved. So they don't call for that disability, they don't plan for it. It's because it's by nature and because they have got that disability. So we have to give them chance, we have to work with them. So socially, they were more isolated, I think. They felt more isolated and economically.
Because before, usually they are isolated. Exactly. Now, with COVID, it just escalated.
That's right.
Even the few people they would talk with, they're also in their homes.
That's right. Yes.
Okay. Yes. Mr. Joseph Mugisha, we are going to go in for a break.
Yes.
But when we come back, we are going to be continuing the discussion with people with disabilities and vulnerable people.
Yes.
So do not go anywhere. This is Family TV, enriching lives. We'll see you after the break.
Brethren, yes we can. We can clear the debt of church house. And I want to invite you to give generously to the love gift. May God bless you as you give.
COVID is real. At first we took it as something easy, but at least now I can feel it. I got the vaccine, first of all, to protect myself, two, to reduce on the risks that may occur when I happen to get it. I encourage teachers and other people that work in schools to be vaccinated because the children we handle can transmit coronavirus to us. So it is always good for us to protect ourselves.
Protect yourself from COVID-19 by washing your hands with soap, wearing your mask, keeping your distance, getting vaccinated, avoiding crowds, staying at home, and avoiding shaking hands and hugging.
Hello beautiful people, it's your guy right here, G Sparks the Dash Daddy, introducing to you something fresh and entertaining. Family TV, in partnership with the Federation of the Gospel Artists of Uganda, bring you a great show called The White Tag Live Concerts with back-to-back entertainment from your favorite gospel artists, MCs, DJs, hype squads, comedians, and even worship teams and the instrumentalists. Every Friday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. be on Family TV. Don't miss.
Alright, thank you so much for staying with us from the time we began, 6:45 a.m. if you have, or if you've just joined the discussion. I am with Mr. Jaseph Mugisha Bitature. He's yet to answer if he's related to Bitature. Yes. But he's a social protection and advocacy advisor at HelpAge International. And we are talking about the effects of COVID-19 on older persons, but also PWDs. Those are the persons with disabilities. Again, Mr. Joseph, thank you so much for being with us. Are you related to the Bitature we all know, Patrick?
Unfortunately or fortunately, I'm not.
Yes.
The Bitature comes from Uganda.
Yes.
But if I come from Buweju, I don't know whether you know Buweju, those
Buweju.
mountainous area, part of the Greater Busheni.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, before they divided it up into 5, but it is Buweju is very, very good land. So usually I find myself now to, you know, when you grow old, we usually term ourselves as young men. Because, and we have a slogan that life begins at 60. Life begins at 60. So I come from Buweju, but I'm not related to them, but I think he's quite enterprising and I think he's done a good job.
True.
Yes.
All right. We are talking about older people and persons with disabilities.
Yes.
But usually, and allow me to continue that conversation, usually us young people, we go to the village once in a year. That is Christmas. And after that, we see our grandparents and our older people again next year on Christmas, as if we abandoned them. We only check on them. Now for us, they don't have WhatsApp. They don't have, probably if they have a phone, it's a very small phone. We don't call them, but I'm sure that affects the older people very much because, like you've told us before, they like communion, they like company, they like to hug, they want to see people, they want to talk to people.
That's right.
Maybe what's the effect of that, of us leaving the older persons at the village? We come this side, but we're taking care of them. That's the excuse we usually give.
That's right.
So what can we do better in that area?
You are quite right in terms of us, especially the bit of educated, but also those who have moved from the rural, urban, in terms of abandoning our grandparents, our parents, and older persons generally. Actually, like in Uganda, when you look at it, no older person does has no relative. Everybody is related to somewhere.
True.
So that's why you can't find that this one has no person to take care. That's why communal responsibility of care and social support is very, very important. When we were growing up in 1970s in my primary, every break time or lunch time, all they would tell us, come with firewood. It would not be for only for teachers, but it would also be for an old woman living alone. We would also go and fetch water for that old woman. So in the school, we were taught about it, to care for older persons. So even at home, even if you were going to mother, but also there were some older persons who had no relative, like who are living alone, maybe abandoned by their children. So sometimes we see older children, older persons who die. Then you think there is no relative, but somebody comes all of a sudden and claims the body.
True.
Interesting part has been under this social assistance grant for empowerment, the SAGE money given by the government. And people said, especially us in town, said, 25,000, the government is joking. How can you give 25,000 to somebody? The government really, do you have nothing to do? Of course, there was a lot of criticism. There was even from the opposition parties and so on. But really, I think it was, for me, it's not enough, yes, and there can be never enough. Even if they paid you 5 million shillings or 20 million shillings per month, even we see our fellow MPs, they are the highest paid.
They want more money.
They want more money. So there can be never enough money. But of course, the more you want, the more you get, the more you want. What do we have now as older persons? 25,000 by the government. And when people are arguing, especially some of us who are earning a bit more and so on, the question was put to us, said, I remember it was Mr. Kaseja, the one heading this program, said, how many of us send on a monthly basis 20,000 shillings regularly to our parent? I'm telling you, there was no hand up in the whole room of about 50 people.
Are you serious?
Yes. On a regular basis, sending 20,000 to your parent. We only do it once. When they are sick, when we get a phone from a neighbor, that your mother is badly off, or you are. So really, okay, for me that was a very. But also we have seen this money since it started. Many years ago, like 2012, it has impacted on the lives of older persons. It has brought a smile on them. It's small, but it is regular, and really, older persons are more careful when they are using it.
Usually, maybe I'll cut you short. Usually, the reason what we say, and allow me represent the youth or the young ones, is we usually say, but they almost have everything. You have the matoke in the background, you have the food, you have beans somewhere, you have maize, you have food is catered for. Why would you need the money?
I'll just start from, like, if you are married and you have a wife and she's not working, she's at home, and you're providing everything, she would still need her own money. Her own personal money, which she can decide to buy what she wants, what her heart feels wants to buy. So even if you tell your father and say, every month go to this shop, get soap, get salt, get everything you need, and I pay. That's very good. But you know, the self-confidence and the humanity in the older person to say that I have my own freedom to decide on my own and buy what I want is very, very important. So that's why cash grant sometimes is very, very important. The person to decide on what he or she wants to buy on his own. You can put everything on for me, but even if when you buy clothes, I'm sure there's something you buy which you really want yourself. But even if they buy for everything for you, but you would want to choose something
for yourself.
So choice is very important. So our parents also need that money. The youth, I know that they are struggling, but in terms of the village now abandonment, there are many things, challenges, especially with HIV and AIDS, because there are many orphans who are left with their grandfathers, and also because many of the parents died, but also urbanization. Most youth have gone to urban areas, and they leave their grandparents, their fathers and mothers, and then also when they produce children, especially that is a form of irresponsibility, by the way. But when he impregnates a girl and the girl says, no, I don't want the child, have your child. What happened? The boy gets the child and takes the grandmother. So in a form, grandmothers, our mothers and grandmothers have become new mothers now. And which is very challenging to them. They raised us up, and now they are raising our own children, which is not fair. Then also the fact is that also the situation is hard. The child studies up to university, graduates, after 5 years, no job. But the child goes back to the parents and say, you know what? We have to sell this piece of land. I want to start something. Or the border people, you know how the boys do. Say, please send me this, and especially unfortunately in Central Region, send me, I want my piece of land, like the other boy in the Bible.
Yes.
I want my share. And then off he goes. So
yeah.
the parent remains isolated in the village. They are not checked upon. They are not called upon. But the fact is that a small phone costs 35,000 shillings, a cabinet, the one with buttons. I'm sure every person in town here can afford it.
That's true.
So it can be to the grandmother, it can be to the father, it can be to the mother. And once, even if it is once a month, there is no much glory that comes to the older person when he hears the voice of the son, of the grandson, like saying, Musei, how are you? We are fine here. That can create a lot of life and smile on the older person. So I think the fact that the distance is there and you live in Kampala or Mbarara and the grandparent or the father is somewhere very far and you don't go home often, you are waiting, most of us go home on Christmas and Easter,
only.
Then we can make those calls. It can limit the isolation. We can talk to them. But also, I call upon the boys and the girls and that usually we take our children to our own parents, take after them. They looked after us. They did their job.
Yeah.
God gave them to the life and they produced us, but let's not add a burden. And the grandmother and grandfather will never say no to the child. They will not say no. They will just take responsibility and suffer with them. What they eat is what they will eat. They sleep with them in the bed. Sometimes you don't even buy a mattress for that child and the grandmother. So I think we still have a role to play when we can make lives of older persons by calling them, by talking to them, by buying some basic things. Of course, life, we know that it's not that simple, but there is something we can do better in terms of communication, in terms of regular talking to them. Even if the father has no phone, I know somebody, my friend, who lives in Kampala, but I usually talk to the border boys. So the neighbor has a phone. So once a week, like on a Sunday, the mother goes to the neighbor, and the boys talk to the what? Says, I talk to my mother, even if whatever happens, but I have not yet bought a phone. So it can be done, it is possible.
Okay.
So it can reduce the isolation, it can reduce the abandonment. But you can imagine also the fact that, you know, the funny part with us Africans in African tradition, when somebody gets sick, we don't very much care.
Yeah.
But when somebody goes that somebody has died, you can even pull out the last coin.
Yes. I wonder why though.
It's a bit funny.
It's a bit very
but
funny.
When you say my father, I have somebody admitted in Mulago, very few will come. But maybe it's changing a bit now with COVID and so on. But I think it's a very bad practice. But when you say somebody has died, from which hospital? How much is the coffin? How much is transporting of the body?
Yeah.
But why didn't we cater? So the same thing, children, some of the children disappear, even when their parents get sick. And then when they die, then
that's when they
bring
show
a coffin, you bring what? It is all to waste because the person has died. Yeah. And died unhappy.
They are not there.
They're not there to see that.
Yes.
So I think we can do better in terms of caring for our parents, in terms of care. With the little we have, we aren't saying that give them heaven, which you don't have, but we can share the little we have. Yeah. And other persons don't demand so much. It is a kilo of sugar sometimes. It's a kilo of meat once a week or once a month. It's something like a small radio, which you can tune in and listen to the music and and listen to, because these days there's so much in terms of Christianity, and there are many radios now that have those broadcasts. My mother never goes so from her radio because she listens to it and she says nobody changes it, and she has told me that keeps me well. So that communing, that listening, that sharing, and that checking on our grandparents, once in a while surprising them with a visit, even when you say you are not coming, it keeps them very
comfortable.
Yes, comfortable.
All right. Allow us shift gears a bit and talk about now the people with disabilities.
Yes.
And we all, it's not a lie that we discriminate them, we look down on them. I see many people, many jobs, when you're applying for a job, at the end they say, we don't discriminate against anyone with disabilities. But we all know that if you went there and you were maybe deaf, you wouldn't probably get that job.
That's right.
But how do we do better as a people, but not discriminating them, but also even themselves, not looking down on themselves? And I mean, you were earlier on telling me of a blind man who wrote the anthem for older persons.
That's right.
How then can we not look down on ourselves as if you're a person with disability, not look down on yourself, but also be developmental.
Yeah. You know, why should we bring, why is this a development concern like PWDs or other persons? According to the census, that is about 4.5 million people of Uganda's population are living with some form of disability. 4.5 million.
Those are many.
That's about 12.4%. So it's a development concern.
Yeah.
Such a big number cannot be left behind. Such a number must be brought on board. And these people living with disability are in our communities, are in our homes. So that's why they should be very much brought on board. First of all, we have to change the whole attitude. It starts with the parents. The parents who produce the child. Sometimes they are the ones who say, keep the child away from. In a room, not wanting to be seen that we are producing a disabled child. There was that, but I think it might have reduced it. But I remember that when I was growing up, they would say, in that home there is a disabled child, but you would never see the child. Why? Because the parents would either hide him or hide in a room. It was like a taboo. And yet this is a human being and has sometimes a mind which functions maybe even better than you. With education amenities that are around now, we have seen disabled children perform better in education than we who are very able. So it starts with us parents, it starts with at home. So thinking that I have this child, how can I raise him up well? How can we embrace the child so that the child also is not stigmatized? And so when the child is loved at home, when the child is loved in the community, then he will also have self-confidence. But the moment I am put away, I am pushed, I am abused, I eat last, I'm saying, don't even, some parents are so careful. They say, don't touch it because you cannot hold it. And yet the child can want to try and want to do it. So that creates self-confidence, brings out the capability in the child, and then so apart from the thinking, then there is the physical thing. Look at even when we are talking about government to have lifts and ramps on all buildings. It's now an act in terms of, we are putting up a building, it must have a ramp, and all public buildings and courts, rooms and churches, you must have a ramp, because we know that disabled people, what do we see? In our own homes itself, we don't consider that. It's as if for us, we are living in a different world. But it starts with the home. Some disabled person challenged me, said, Joseph, it was far back in 2005, I was in Gulu, and it was some PWD who was very much aware by that time. Said, Joseph, your home, do you have ladders? I said, yes. How about if you produce a disabled child? How about if your son? I said, that brought
a conscious thing.
The toilets at home. So we force the public to do it, but at home we don't do it. It's as if for us, we don't even get visitors. You might not have the person in your home, but you might get a visitor. Then, of course, the whole thing about the things to use that help us when we are disabled. For example, the cane, the white cane. For example, the wheelchairs. If they could not be taxed, if they could be heavily subsidized, if they could be accessible, then it would make life easier. A child who has a wheelchair and can move from home to school, not crawling on the ground and being bashed by others, I'm sure that child would have so much confidence. But so we have still a long way to go in terms of supporting the PWDs, to access services, to go to health center and access medicine, to go to school and study with others as that child, but also to come to a meeting in time. Because when I am disabled, how do I walk with my hands on the ground like 2 kilometers and then go into a meeting with parents? First of all, the seat itself climbed there. They will say this person is dirty. People will look at you. So, but if I have a wheelchair, it is very fine.
It's very easy.
It's very easy. So we need to support them. We need to help them. There are many children, but I think the education bit is a bit of improving. You had in the COVID and the COVID, there was a very serious debate about the Ministry of Education had materials delivered to even to up country, but there was a question: are these materials sensitive to disability?
I get you.
So, and even then, though we have some schools now with grades and so on, teaching and so on, we still have many children there who cannot access education, who cannot access services because they are disabled. So the government needs to invest more. We have seen the NGOs and because the civil society doing great work. I think the government needs to invest more because 4.5 million, you are talking very good. Of course, in terms of representation, they are doing well. They have been represented now from village level to parliament.
Yeah.
So they can.
Those are PWDs.
PWDs. Even older persons, they are the last ones to come on board. In 2015, in 2016 last elections, that's when the older persons first came on board to be elected.
Yeah.
So because that's when you can participate in the policy making and participate in the planning and budgeting, then you can say yes, we are catered for. But if you don't participate, if there are no voices, so the voices of the PWDs now, I think, have greatly improved. We have now a minister, Honorable Samo, who is now in charge of disability, the Honorable Minister of State, and we have a minister for the elderly. And of course, it was a very big debate. I think you saw it when the president was asking for one more post for the ministry among the ministers, and that minister, because he wanted to split disability from elderly.
Yes.
So that disability has their own minister of state and elderly have their own state.
Yeah.
And people are saying, no, we are tired. But we have already increased the ministers to a number. But we are talking about participation, talking about disability, we are talking about elderly, and the numbers are increasing. And definitely, in few years to come, the numbers will be high. It is anticipated by 2050, more than 5 million older persons will be in Uganda.
Yeah, I mean, now our population is the young one, but by that time,
exactly,
we are going to be the old ones.
Exactly, because one, you are producing less children. You are going to produce like one child. While your father had 12, so you want to produce 2. And we shall have a population, so the pyramid will be upside down. Yeah. Many older persons will be at the top, and very few
young people.
So definitely, we have to plan for it. So we have already seen what is happening in Japan and other countries. Why are our children now going to America and nurses and so on?
Canada and whatnot.
Because caring for the elderly.
Yeah, it's a big business. That's it, and they pay a lot of money.
And we shouldn't think because for us we have many youth that it is far from us. It isn't.
It isn't.
Look at the situation whereby when HIV/AIDS came to Uganda, first discovered in Rakai, the people who discovered who had HIV are now older persons now. They have lived with it.
Yeah.
So that tells you that with good health, with everything, you can live to a certain age that you want, but that means that the population of aging is going to increase, whereas the youth is going to decrease, because now we have more youth now. But in 30 years to come, there will be older persons.
There will be older persons, true. And for us, we don't want to produce 12 people, children. We want to produce 2, 1.
I think that's why the government now, we are struggling with the youth now. But we should not struggle with the older persons in the future. Let's plan for them.
Plan for them now.
As we plan for the youth now, I know that it's a big challenge. But let's not forget that with better health services, with everything, these youth, most of them are going to grow old. They will die.
Yeah, that is true.
So how we shall now, let's not again say that we have been caught unaware by the aging population.
We now know. We now know.
Yes.
All right. We're coming towards the end of the conversation. And before I let you go, Mr. Joseph, allow me just maybe re-echo HelpAge. What do you do? How can people join you? If how can we join? How can we participate? Yes, HelpAge.
Yeah, as I told you at the beginning, we are a network organization. We work with organizations who are working with older persons and for older persons. Some organizations are formed by older persons themselves. They are our members, but also work closely with the Ministry for Policy Making, but also work closely with the media.
Okay. Because
we know the media plays a very, very big role. We have talked about information sharing. We have talked about creating awareness. So when you are on TV, when you are on radio, the people listen and they say this is quite good, and that's why you say is very, very important. So we know that the media plays a very good role. So we have been bringing it on board. We have trained some media in covering, in recording, in covering older persons' issues. So that in the past there were very few articles on older persons in the media, but now there's an increase.
Yes,
and I see and like now Family TV has invited us here, and we think that there is more awareness coming on, so we have the media on as a very big partner. But also we have like now, International Day for Older Persons coming up.
Yes.
The media can play a very good role now that we know that it is being celebrated scientifically. So most people must get all the information from the media.
From the media, from radios,
From
TVs.
radios and TVs. There is no longer that international celebration where people come together and so on. So it happens every 1st October. So 1st October this year, there will be International Day celebration, but it might be scientific celebration in State House. But we think that you play a very good role, but also in highlighting the evils, the human rights abuses, especially about older persons. One whose land has been grabbed, one who has been beaten up by a son who is responsible, who is a drunkard. You know, there is a very great role that can be brought on board, and the media and we thank the media for that. But we think that also in terms of as you grow old, you have a very great role in terms of being a role model, but also we have seen many older persons they are very religious. So they and most of them tune on their radios and TVs to pray. And the children can follow them and can see what they are doing. And there is nothing peaceful than when this old person gets near to God, just listens and to someone. It's very, 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 very. The person can go without a meal, but can listen to this. But also when they meet and share, like reading the Bible. We have Rotom, an organization in Mukono here. It is based on Christian values, but Reach One, Touch One Ministries. But every Thursday, all the persons organized at village level, and they read the Bible, they sing songs, and they go home happily. You know, it revives them. They forget their problems. So it's a very, very good for. So you can partner with us in terms of giving out information. Giving the media can partner with us in terms of training, and also partnering with the Ministry of Gender in terms of trying to get the policies and creating awareness among the other policy implementers. You go into a district and the LCFH is who's an older person. What does he do?
What does it do? What does that look like?
Some don't know the older person's policies. So we think through the media we can achieve a lot, and we can make the older person's lives better. Yes.
Right. Mr. Mugisha, as tradition here on Morning Glory, before anyone leaves, we usually encourage them to encourage the population, whoever is watching us. I mean, COVID came, it hit us, but also there are other things that have happened. People have lost their jobs. There are older persons there who are watching you thinking, yes, same more things like those. But just from you, Mr. Mugisha, an encouragement to the hopeless, to the person who is going through maybe a depression or whatever. A word of encouragement to them. I really encourage. I have to thank Family TV for this opportunity, because I know that airtime, somebody is paying for this airtime, even if HelpAge has not paid. It's a very, very good service. So many people have listened. It's a very, very great blessing. So I encourage more TV stations, more media houses to do the same, to dedicate some little time and give information about the vulnerable people, the PWD persons with disabilities, and even the older persons. But also I encourage the older persons outside, especially the urban elderly. In the villages, as you said, they are a bit relieved. They have some food, there is water nearby, but here you have to pay for everything. So the urban elderly, I think we now have representation, including members of parliament, and we think how our voice is increasing a bit. There was no voice for the elderly before, and I think let's have hope in terms of being represented, because from representation, as I said, that's where we make policies, that's where we make plans and budgets which are sensitive to aging, and I think we should have hope. It's not all gone. It's not all going to be very bad. And also, even if you have reached the age of 90 and you are saying, what should I, why should I? But still, let's raise our voices so that by the time we come to the age of very soon, dying or what, we have made an impact for the future, even for our children who are coming after us, so that they can enjoy their old age. Because some things, the people now making policies for the persons and everything and PWDs might not enjoy them, but if for the future, it is for the future people, the future generations who are going to be old and can enjoy. So let us not lose hope. Let us be hopeful, especially let us have hope in our leaders. Let us also hold them accountable. Let us also ask them what they are doing there, but also let us monitor the government programs. When a government program comes, even at village level, at parish development mode now as coming, let us also have our leaders, what is in there for us as older persons.
Nobody's going to raise the voice for us. Let the older persons, let the PWDs, let us raise the voices for ourselves.
All right.
But also, above all, let us trust in the Lord that there is always hope. Yes, after 40 years in the desert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joseph Mugisha Bitature, he's a social protection and advocacy advisor at HelpAge International. And we were talking about effects of COVID-19 to the older persons, but also persons with disabilities. Thank you so much for staying with us. This has been Morning Glory. We'll see you again tomorrow at 6:45 a.m. till 9 a.m. Here on Family TV. Next up is Step Up, where we talk to young entrepreneurs who are doing good things even during this time. So do not go anywhere.